It's me and Maurice. Um, I there's a lot going on in my life, and there's probably other things that I could talk about, and maybe at some point I might live stream about it. But this is a completely different conversation. I was on TikTok scrolling, and I seen this post by the real baddie, and she was talking about B Simone and how we see all these like rebrands that she does, and and a lot of it stems from like the lack of intention. And I was like, that's a really a word, that's a word, and I received that word. um you know and for me, like, okay, I don't know, I feel like in my situation is different because, like, I don't know. I just, for one, like, okay, I get like surface level words, like a message on the surface, but I feel like my situation just differs from a lot of people in a lot of different ways. But there's are aspects that can be relatable. Like, for example, like dealing with bullying. Like, everybody's had that experience. Dealing with like a spiritual awakening. Like, there's people, we talk more about that nowadays in society. Dealing with like insecurities or like imposter syndrome. I guess I do deal with that, actually, more than I realize. With imposter syndrome, like, I'm confident in who I am, and I feel like there should be space for me in the world. But then at the same time, I feel like I have a hard time feeling like I can take up space and be booked for a show as a solo act on the ticket and get paid like $20 a ticket to see the Narice show. Like, what does the Narice show look like? Like, I know if I had the time and space and freedom to like build a show and really just focus on that, I could put together something really dope. Um, but there's a lot of things that I juggle in life that I feel like distract me from what I wanna do. And then lately, honestly, like, I have been feeling, like, so out of touch with music, and I know I've been in situations where, like, my back's been against the wall, and, like, and I guess it could be one of those, like, "Oh, performing like the rent is due," type of situations. But, like, I've just been so, like, unmotivated, and not in a space of, like, laziness, but just, like, I mean, that is part of it. There is a part of it that is a bit of laziness, I'm not gonna lie, but a lot of it is, like, fear, and fear of being vulnerable and expressing myself. Because as an artist, like, as, you know, Badu says, "I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my shit," and I am. Um, and I get it, like, you have to like build thick skin and be able to perform even if they boo you or whatever the case may be. But I feel like it's different. Like, and then, like, but at the same time, bringing it back to, like, even though I feel like my situation is different, but aspects of it can be relatable. Like, at the same time, I think back in the day when black folks would perform in a racist America and would do tours down south and would do shows in front of white acts, but then be like harassed and struggle finding hotels to, sleep at because they're black. So, like, there are aspects of my experience that I can pull from history or just other people relating to aspects of my life. So, but I don't know. At the same time, like, there are nuanced things that I deal with that I feel like makes my life a little bit like unrelatable. But anyway, that's beside the point. Um, I've been feeling like out of touch with music and art, and like I feel like a lot of times people use like negative experiences to fuel the work and like transmute it. And like, I don't know, I just haven't been in that space to do that. Like, like, I have CDs, and, I burnt CDs to sell. And I know, like, if I did like a street performance, I could probably sell some. But at the same time, like, I worry about my safety as a black woman and as me, you know? And then at the same time, it's like I don't feel like as passionate about music anymore, honestly. And I never thought I would get to that point. Like even at the worst of like the feelings I felt in life, like the worst that I've ever felt about life is like not wanting to be here. But what snapped me out of it was like my connection to music and knowing that I'm talented and I know that I have important things to say and that I could be a positive influence with my music. And but lately, I don't know. I think just because like a lot's been going on and I've just been in a space of like survival and just really just scraping by and just trying to figure out like, okay, how am I gonna eat? Where am I going? You know, where to perform? Is it safe here? Do I have enough food for Angie? Do I have enough gas to get where I need to go? Like, just like things to like really stress about the basics. And it's kind of hard to like that can be inspiration and it's like, okay, I could write a song about that. But like that's not where my is right now. And it's really not where my heart is either. Like, I don't know. I just feel like I mean, and I have been like and it's funny enough, I did come up with a little melody earlier today. Like then I think throughout like earlier this week, I've been like thinking up melodies and I've been forgetting them because I haven't been having space on my phone. So like I haven't been able to record it to like jot it down. So I've just been like losing ideas. But yeah, I don't know. So bringing it back to like what I actually wanted to talk about, purpose and intention, and that post from the real baddie really like had me thinking like, I do feel like a lot of what I've been doing isn't rooted in intention. Like I can write songs with intention. Like I want to write this song and I want to say something positive. I want to like write something inspirational and like inspire someone. Um but like at the same time like my motivation for a long time has been money. And not like in a space of like being vain or like capitalistic, but from struggle, from surviving, from like growing up in this like illusion of struggle, like coming from a single parent household, like being raised by a single dad, no mom, being the only girl for a period of time until my cousin moved in. And then like even in that situation, like going to a school where all my friends had cars and I didn't have a car. I always had to rely on them to pick me up. And, and even in situations where my friends had more than me. And I was always like in the mindset of like, okay, I got to get a job. I got to work. I got to get my own money. I gotta like buy my own stuff, like save up. I want to like I eventually want to like be a business owner so I can like build something for myself and be able to sustain stability, and that's always a goal of mine. And I know I've said that a million times before, but I feel like that's been more of a driving force for me than it's ever been like intention. And naturally, because I'm someone that like cares about the world, like in better circumstances where like I'm not struggling with like PTSD, rage, and like trauma, like prior to me really going through like a lot of like heavy um trials and tribulations of life. Like my default had always been like wanting to be like inspirational and like follow my dreams and put out like good music that can uplift people and just like have a positive effect in the world. Like naturally that's always what I've wanted to do. That's always who I wanted to be. And at the same time like do it in a way where I can receive income and pay my bills and be rich and not just like getting by or being paycheck to paycheck, but no, like be rich. Like I've always wanted to be rich. And I feel like that might be like the first time I really thought about it like that, you know? And just because like I want to be comfortable, and not only comfortable, but like be rich in a way where like I can really like live out my dreams. Cause I think to anyone who knows me, anyone who's been a friend to me years ago would know that for a long time I was a huge Beyonce fan. And one of the things I would say maybe around like self-titled era, like when she started like getting into like legendary status. One of the things that I really like admired about Beyonce was that she was very talented. She is very talented. I say was. I only say was because I'm not as big as of a fan these days as I used to be. That's another conversation for another time. But one of the things that I admired about her was that she is the best at what she does, and she puts the time and energy into like having her talent be what it is, but she also was able to be one of the most talented people and the most beautiful and fashionable people, and be like have mainstream success to a point where she doesn't have to limit her art. She doesn't have to like think about, oh, I can't afford to get this type of camera. Like, or they're like she's at a stage in her career where she can create a treatment and have a vision for her art, and maybe the message that she wants to put in the music, and whatever it is, and she doesn't have to be limited to like, oh, I don't have a budget for this. Like, I want to do this film for my music, but I can't afford to fly to this place, and I can't afford that outfit, or I can't afford to hire a choreographer and a director and cameraman or a special kind of lens to get the shot that I want. Like, she doesn't have to think about life like that. She could just create her art from a space of like no limitation. And I haven't watched the Renaissance documentary. I've seen some clips online, and I've seen that she does have some struggles as it pertains to like people still kind of like underestimating her, which is funny. Um and and dealing with different situations where like, like searching like there was a whole issue with her like searching for a kind of lens, and her asking like the camera people like, does it exist, and they're like, oh no, we won't be able to do it like that, and she looked it up and was like, actually this does exist. you know and I'm sure like moments like that is irritating when you're dealing with people who might be small minded and you have big dreams and big ideas, and you want to create without limits, and in that you're working with people who might be limited in their mindset. So they might not see the vision and they might not see the goal. But, you know, I feel like either way, like, yeah, that's irritating to deal with. But the fact that she was able to look up the camera, I'm sure her and her company can afford to get the lens that she needs, you know? And my point in saying that and even mentioning that is like, being an artist, of course, like, there's always a way to look at it and spin it to the positive and say, like, okay, you make your best art when you go through the struggle. Sometimes when you don't have all the resources that you feel like you need and you just do things out of necessity, you still make some of the dopest art. Like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's frustrating when you have a vision and, you know, certain ideas and things that you want to do, but you're limited to the fact that, like, for example, you know, say if say if you're at a museum and you're inspired by the art there, right? Whether it's somebody recommended it to you or you stumbled upon it yourself, whatever. But you're inspired nonetheless. And say you want to film there, but for whatever reason, you can't, right? Especially if you're just like this up and coming artist, amateur artist, and maybe there's construction going on in that area, so you can't get to it, or it's a public place, and you have to work while there's regular people attending this space, versus someone like a Beyonce that can afford to shut down the Louvre and film a music video with her husband and her crew and her team while nobody's there to be in the way. Now, I'm sure there might have been like some hiccups and challenges, in the process of doing that. Like, oh, maybe, the costumes flew out too late when, they had to buy some extra fabric somewhere to, do a makeshift look for a dancer or whatever the case may be. Or maybe some dancer wasn't feeling well. So they had to find, whatever. Because even I get it, even at those levels, there are struggles and issues that come up. But the art isn't limited though, versus being in a space where you might not have that financial access to pay to block out a museum so you can create your art and convey the message that you want in your work, right? And being in that space for me is frustrating. And yeah, it's frustrating. Um especially when you have dope ideas and you have messages that you want to put in your art just like anybody else, but you have to think about whether, okay, do I have enough memory on this card? Do I Are my batteries charged? You know, and or it's 100 degrees outside and I ain't got no AC in my car and all my stuff is in here. I ain't got no trailer, that I could just like block out and park somewhere. Or I don't have like an advance or like a budget from a studio that's funding this project. It's just me and the $2 that I got and the camera that I've had for like almost a decade now with a broken lens. But if I turn the lens a particular way, the crack is a little bit off the screen. So I know in post I could edit the crack out. You know, I got to think about my art like that. Versus, oh, just get a new camera, you know? And sometimes creating from that space of a lack of resources, for me, interferes with how motivated I am to even like want to create. And and I guess some people look forward to that, right? Like, if you got people that like want to stop you from what you're doing or hold you back in any capacity, I guess it works. Um and and I feel like it's hard for me to just focus on like creating and living and doing things with intention in mind when I have to think about the finance, when I have to think about like, how am I going to eat? Do I even have gas to get to the set? And if I get to the set, am I even able to film? You know, is there a space for me to like, you know, charge up my devices and all these things as I'm like traveling on the road? And it's kind of like I don't know, it's just and I'm not saying that like I said before, like I get it even in all spectrums of, you know, stability and having access to resources. Like even if you're an artist, maybe you might not be on Beyonce level, but say you're like a new incoming artist and you're signed to a label and maybe you don't have, you got a budget, but maybe not the full budget that you need. Like for example, like Normani, say, when they did the Wild Side video, which I love so much because it's such a dope project, she said she didn't have the budget to really get the vision across the way she needed to. So she had to invest her own money into that project, and I feel like it was worth it. So I know that's not new. I know that's not a new concept of like investing in your own work and maybe having limitations, even if you're somebody that's in the limelight or you're on TV and people may think like, oh, you got it made, but they don't really understand the struggles and, the pitfalls that happen, even in people who might seem like they have more than you. I understand those things. I get that. I'm not naive to that. My whole thing is really just speaking from my own experience of just like, you know, I don't know. This isn't really a video with like answers or um like advice or whatever. I don't know. I thought I saw that post and I was inspired to like speak about it. Um and I don't know, maybe this could relate to some people. Maybe there's other creatives that struggle with that where like say you want to create. And maybe you might not even care really all that much about intention. You just like to make art because it's fun. You just like to make fun songs and film videos with your friends and you have a good time and that's how you commune with your people. And you're more so just care to have a good time and create because you're just good at it. Maybe it's not a big thing about like, oh, what's the deeper message of this art? Maybe you just make art because you just enjoy it. You know, for me, like I've always wanted to be one of those like esteemed creatives and, aesthetic girlies that's knows how to put a look together and can film really cool visuals, but it's not just cool, but it's done with intention and it's done with a message. And then sometimes it might not, maybe the message doesn't have to be like super deep. It could just be like, you know what? I feel good. I feel beautiful. And in me feeling beautiful, I hope that in watching this or hearing this song, you feel beautiful too. Maybe that's the message, you know? Um, and that's just as important too. But lately I've just been in a space where like I don't know, there's a lot that's been going on. There's a lot of things, if I were to speak candidly, then I might break the internet. Maybe I need to do that. No pun intended. Um, but yeah, it's just I don't know. It's now the thing is like I don't want to be um neglectful as it pertains to like the fact that I know that I've received assistance in those spaces, like even in my struggle to create, I know that I've had help in creating the stage for me to be able to create. And I'm grateful for that. And and I just can't ignore or forget those things. Even if it's come with its challenges. And the thing is, You know, as much as there's like things that frustrate me that I feel can like hold me back, I do feel like there are some people and spaces that do advocate and try to hold space for me to blossom and create and and build something for myself. And even if that's not often like displayed and talked about, um, you know, that is true. Um, and yeah, I don't know. That's a whole nother conversation for another time. But you know, I felt like that was necessary to say just because like, in the whole conversation about like creating with intention, but then kind of like losing the motivation for that. Like, I know that I'm not completely like alone in my journey. Um, and I know that I have received help within that in a lot of different ways, even if the help don't see eye to eye. But uh, I'm grateful nonetheless. Um, yeah, I don't know. This is it's an interesting space to be in. You know, I feel like and then, just to be like frank, just like my life, my existence as me and the things that I deal with and the way that I see the world and when I speak how I hear or what can be heard through these devices. And, just going through the struggle and shenanigans of just like wanting to exist and feel safe in that way. Sometimes it's like, you know, it's hard for me because like I know people aren't perfect. I know spaces aren't perfect. And but all of that does have an effect on my work and whether I feel safe or comfortable enough to even be vulnerable enough to create and make art. And if it's like the right time, the right place, and then also, like I said, just like the basic things of like finances, like, okay, can I eat? Am I going to be able to park my car? Is Angie going to be safe? Like, different things like that. I have to think about, but in certain spaces, it's hard to gauge like what I'm going to get in these spaces, and and even where there's people who do try to help out and say like, "Oh, you should create over here." Like, "Oh, this is a good place." "Oh, you should perform over here." This might be a good opportunity. I feel like as it pertains to my life, anybody, regardless of what your intentions are, whether you have the best of intentions, maybe you have some good intentions, maybe you have no good intentions, like regardless of where you are on the spectrum of your intention as it pertains to the role in my life, everybody has to like somehow some way dance with the devil, whether you want to or not, whether I want to or not. Like I feel like that's just the plight of circumstances around my life. And a lot of times I feel like we lose the plot when we're criticizing how hard somebody else is dancing versus somebody else, when I feel like everybody's dancing with the devil. And somebody's dance is a little bit, the two step go a little bit harder than somebody's 8 count, and or somebody's 8 count might be a little offbeat and it look like a 6 count. I don't know. But to me, in my own life and my own experience, all of it feels like a dance, you know? And I understand it's a game of balance, you know? Like there's certain circumstances and situations where people can't be too safe, for their own preservation and their own safety. And there's but so many, like, so much you can do because there's limitations to, you know, what role people have to play. Um, However, I like for me, I just try to handle it all the best that I can. And some people may judge and criticize, you know, how I handle situations, how I respond to things, or, you know, what spaces are given chances versus what's not. Um, but again, like I said, all of it feels like a two-step with the devil. And, some people's dance is a little bit more complicated. And, the discourse is like, oh girl, they eight count, they eight count with the devils a little bit. Mm-mm. But I'm like, but you dancing with the devil too, you know, at the same time. And to me, I feel like as it pertains to my art and just my life, like I have to be on guard regardless. It don't matter who it is, you know? Um, I feel like I don't get the luxury to sleep easily in any space. I have to sleep with eye open, even in spaces that may be safer than others. Like all of it is unsafe to me, you know? Like I'm always on guard. I'm always keeping an eye on every situation. I'm always keeping my head on a swivel because I have to, you know? But at the same time, I don't know. It's just like it's a lot for one person to have to deal with and try to decipher and understand and be considerate of and like trust and not trust. And, you know, and then mind you, all of this is going on at the same time that I'm trying to like find ways to be creative and find ways to like build something for myself and find ways to, you know, be my own person. It's interesting. Like I feel like for example, for me, like the like one situation, I'll just say it transparently. I was working on a website, working on merchandise to sell, and I was having issues putting the website together. And that was a frustrating situation. And I expressed my frustrations about that. Um, and sometimes I try to give the benefit of the doubt, like, okay, maybe there's like a deeper understanding as to why there's technical issues with this. Maybe there's some behind the scenes shenanigans that I'm not understanding. And and then some people may criticize that and say like, "Oh, nah, these, entities and whatever is holding you back and blocking you. And, you shouldn't allow that and accept that." And at the same token, I'm like, "All right, well, when my shop was running, where was y'all support at then?" Like y'all could have bought something then. And I mean, I don't mean that to be rude or anything, but I'm just saying like, you know, But at the same time, being trying to be considerate and maybe understanding that there's more going on that I don't know. You know, maybe there's a reason why people don't just search Narisse.com or just search Narisse's social media and just follow my account because you know who I am. Maybe there's a reason why people don't just support me out loud and say my name out loud. Maybe there's a underlining behind the scenes reason that goes on, you know? And to me, it feels like people aren't supporting me. And maybe they support me like as a guilty pleasure or in hiding because they're scared of what people may say out loud. So, instead of like, maybe they're not blocking me, but they're not supporting, you know? So, I mean, I feel like I can assess that as the same thing. Maybe it's different, you know? I mean, it's different by way of like, okay, maybe there's more going on that I don't understand. And maybe for like safety reasons, people don't just like, you know, outwardly just follow all my accounts and just like the content and share my content on my page, you know? Or maybe there's a reason why people don't just donate to my Cash App right here if they don't want to purchase the merchandise. Cause it's like, all right, the website isn't ready, but my Cash App is right here. And if you see my situation and you sympathize in any way, in any capacity, you can just send something to my Cash App. But maybe there's people who want to do that and hesitate to do that because I don't know, maybe some behind the scenes reason that I don't understand. But to me, from my perspective, just like some people feel like, oh, you're being blocked. I felt that way as well, and at times still feel that way. But I also feel like, okay, but there's things that's not blocked and ways that y'all can help and ways that you can support if you feel that way. And I'm not saying that people have to, but I only say that from a space of like knowing that I'm somebody that's oftentimes supportive. Knowing that I'm somebody that's oftentimes like I'll buy somebody's album if I like the music. I'll donate to a cause if I feel like, I can help if I got a few dollars to help. Even if I'm down to my last dollar, literally just did that the other day. I'll help somebody if I can, you know? And again, I'm not saying that people don't help me, at all. Um, but at the same time, it's like, all right, follow my accounts. Follow me. If I don't come up on your timeline, you know my name. You know how to spell it. This video might not be on your timeline, but somehow, some way you end up seeing what I say in this video and make a reference to it in the content. So just follow my account. Unless for whatever reason, y'all scared to do it. And there's some behind the scenes reason where you can't support me that much. You still gotta mix in a little bit of shade in the support because we all have to dance with the devil. And nobody's scared or everybody's scared to say, I don't want to dance with the devil. So while everybody, including all of y'all, everybody is doing a little two step, maybe some people dancing harder than others. But let's be real. Who feels 100% safe? Who completely challenges the system? A lot of y'all play both sides for your own self preservation. And I get it. But my thing is like, if we're going to judge a thing, like, then be bold enough to challenge it. And for the people who are, I respect it. I respect it to the rebels of like, all right, I get it that this is the rules that they say we gotta follow, but fuck that. Let's do something to help now. I completely respect that. Especially as it's 100 degrees outside. And you know, I'm here chilling with Angie for a moment. And she chilling, she cool. She's not panting in the heat. And I'm very grateful for that. And that was my main concern. Like, yeah, it's hot and uncomfortable for me. And, I be sweating and all that. But I know it's uncomfortable for Angie and she doesn't know what all is going on. And, and I'm the one that's supposed to take care of her. And that's my main like thing. Like I know what's going on. I know it's gonna be all right. I know like, all right, I could pray that a cloud could cover the sun for a little bit. But Angie's just like, it's hot. And I don't know why. And all the water in here is hot. you know? So but you know, God willing, there's been um some help that's come my way to shift my environment. And even that, there's, things that come with it, which I understand because everybody got to play their part and do their two step, you know? But at the same time, I'm grateful that, people were willing to take the chance and like provide assistance and help, you know? And I also understand that there's some, folks that's been taking a lot of risks um, and sacrificing a lot for a long period of time and dealing with a lot of criticism in between that. And, there's definitely things that come up that I'm not too crazy about, that I disagree with, and that might, you know, make me feel away. But again, since we're all doing this two step, I can't really say, I don't really like this choreography. You know, maybe you're trying to do the foxtrot and I'm not really with that right now. But like, how can I say that without making the block hot? But then when I do, then it's like, you know, um, yeah, I mean, I'm not like naive to certain things. Like, yeah, there are certain thoughts that, you know, I'm not crazy about, or at least not at this particular moment in time while like I'm trying to figure out like a meal for the day, you know? It's like, you know, like being flattered that a guy is like hitting on you and like sex is cool, but food, rent, and equity is better. But I don't know. Maybe sex is how they know how to do a two step. I don't know. I don't know what I don't know because there's things that I'm not allowed to know and platforms I'm not allowed to see. So, you know, I don't know. But all in all, like the thing is for me is just like I don't know. Like I know this kind of deviated a little bit, but I did want to say this and like address this. Um but all in all, my main thing is just like a lot's going on in my life and a lot of different like facets and whether it like pertains to like finances, certain relationships, location, where am I going? I don't know. What am I doing? Like what's guiding my movement? Like is it my art? Is it, you know, centering trying to find love or whatever? Or like networking and trying to build relationships, but then like, okay, if I do that, how authentic and organic are those interactions going to be? Because we got all these devices going on out here, you know. Yeah, I mean, and then all of that while like trying to be creative and then dealing with like, people giving their 2 cents about your life and what you should be doing. And like, this whole conversation around like feminism and like immigration and politics and decentering men and oligarchy and, all these like political buzzwords you know, and I'm just like, look, I'm just trying to find my way. And then going back and forth between like, okay, is this suggestion helpful? Is it not? Is this going to hold space for me to create? Or is this just a strategic setup? Who's behind these moves? Can I trust them? Oh, okay, this person's actually being more helpful than I was thought they were going to be. Wow, what a bumble surprise. But not for too long, because of course, especially got to keep up with the 8 count, you know? Everybody's dance is different. Some people dance a little bit harder than others. Some people try to do the dance because they feel like they got to, don't want to, but whatever. But either way, for me, like I value the help, but also like I more importantly, I value like consistency. And at some points, it's like, okay, how bad is this dance versus somebody else's dance? At least this dance isn't threatening my life. I'm like, okay, this dance is a little spicy, a little bit sexy. Maybe it would be nice if this dance was a little bit more romantic. Or maybe just sitting down and just eating rather than dancing altogether. That'd probably be nice too. But like, who's facilitating the ballroom? I don't get to know these things yet. Because if I did, I'd burn that shit the fuck down. But they, you know, and this is why I have the problems I have. Yeah. For me, it all just looks like what's the lesser of the evil. But everybody gotta have a sprinkle of evil in they shit, even if, they're trying to be helpful and they don't want to be. But all of it fucks with my nervous system either way. So yeah, I don't know. And as all of this is going on in my life, like, you know, it's a lot for me to like navigate. And then also like discovering like the truth of my life and who I am and just like all the magical things that happen around me and being in a space where people have more manipulation and control over my energy than I do. And that's fucking irritating. But also something I have to juggle, something I have to think about, something I have to navigate and try to figure out, as well as like figuring out, like, okay, what is my purpose in life? What do I actually want to say in this art? Do I even have the space to really create? And then by the time I actually get around to creating, do I even feel the same? Does that message still resonate with me? Like, for example, like, I'm not crazy about the Divine Project, you know? I mean, like, I like the songs. I feel like the songs are good and I'm grateful for the inspiration for it. But, speaking of album covers, now that I know what I know now, if I could redo that project, I would, you know? I would be more intentional about how I would do my own album cover, not realizing that there was other things going on. So, and I know we haven't there's a lot of conversation about that as it pertains to the Sabrina Carpenter album. I guess we got something in common in more ways than one. I mean, well, I guess she got to act like she liked that album cover, but I'm not crazy about my own album cover. Um, I've taken better pictures on my own, and yeah, but that's the one completed project that I have that's copywritten that I could technically sell. And a lot of the music that I have out that I'd rather perform, just because I feel like it's sonically new and more true to the music that I've been making recently and just how I've been feeling about life recently compared to the songs that I wrote on that project. But that's for the sake of survival. That's the one CD I can burn and sell. But have I been doing a good job marketing it? No, not really. No, I haven't. I could do better at that. But at the same time, it's like I feel like music shouldn't have to be the thing that I like. Like, I know you have to have that hustle and drive, but it's like I don't want my music to have to be the thing that I hustle because I need to make money. Like, I want it to be the thing that I do because it's an expression of myself because of intention. But it's like I don't have that luxury to do. And and the thing is, like, it's not like I said, like I still like enjoy those songs, but it hasn't resonated with me because I've been in survival mode. So songs like Correspondence and Breaking Out the House literally have resonated with me because those are current depictions of things that I've been going through lately. And that's why I've been writing a lot of inspirational songs. But even that, like, even as time has progressed, because a lot of those songs I started working on and writing last year, you know, I've even evolved since then. Like, since then, there's ways that I want to like evolve my sound production wise and like just the type of music that I create. And I was thinking about like, funny enough, I mean, since we're having the moment, if you know what I mean, you know what I mean. Where a lot of old things are coming up to the forefront, to the new. And for me, that pertains to like certain people that were in my life and like certain friends of mine. For those who don't know, I was in a group called Down to Mars, and that was like my first attempt at making music. And the first EP was okay. There was like some elements that was all right, but it was a little rough. And there was a project that we were working on that we never really got the chance to like create and put out. But I was really proud of that music because at the time, like, I really was like experimenting and pushing myself vocally. And yeah, I was like, I had it, and I was enjoying the creative process. Like, we ain't had no money at the time, and you know, we were still figuring out like what it all was, like what the look and the sound and everything was. But it was dope because it was organic and it was authentic, whether it was written in the stars or not. But since me creating music on my own, and I'm proud of my music. Like I definitely feel like my music is dope. But I feel like because I've had to like carry the weight as it pertains to like production and like teaching myself how to play guitar and including all of that into my music, I don't know. I just feel like I've lost touch with myself as a vocalist. And like I'll listen to some of my songs recently and I just feel like my vocals aren't as strong as they can be. And then again, like I know that's because I'm not doing the proper things to like maintain my vocals like I should, like warming up, drinking tea, and like, singing consistently. Like when I was singing consistently, my voice was strong. And like I would be able to sing songs that were like really challenging for me. Um and when I'm not keeping up with that muscle, I have to rework at like getting my vocals back to what they were. But I remember at that time when I was in the group, I was singing all the time and it was easy for me. And mind you, I wasn't doing all the healthy things. Like I was smoking weed, I was drinking alcohol, I wasn't eating healthy, but I was singing often and my voice was strong. And not only that, but just like, you know, being in spaces and being in environments that pushed me creatively, like the open mic spots I was going to, being around different creatives in my town, like being in the group, those things were like influencing me in a positive way to keep up with my art versus like these last few years where it's like it's been a fight. It's been a fight to just like even feel safe to like express myself or create or like go to an open mic and like really just do my thing. Like I gotta go to an open mic and like be a strategist of like, all right, where in the room am I gonna sit? You know, when am I performing? Where they gonna have me standing? Like, I gotta think about all that shit versus just like going up there and just being great and just doing what I do. And, I like just, just everything that I've been going through, like essentially what I'm saying is like it's been taking a toll on me creatively. And yes, I should get back into like thinking of the intention of my art and and finding time to practice more often. But again, like the struggle be real out here. I'm thinking about what Cat Williams said, I'm thinking how I'm gonna make it, like literally, you know and maybe this sounds like excuses to some people. I know there's probably some people that like go through the trenches and they find a way to make it happen anyway and use their art and their creativity and their passion to be the catalyst to push them forward. But honestly, like, I don't know, I just been like losing the motivation for that. Like, like I'll still do it. Like I'll still get out here. I'm like, all right, I have these ideas. I'll get out here and like, film and, do different like, shots and stuff like that. I'll still like come up with different melody parts and knowing that like hopefully once I get like stable somewhere, then I can film and I mean not film. I can like record and really redo some of the vocals for some of these songs because it just like I don't know, it's not giving enough for me. Is like I feel like I'm not pushing myself as much as I know I can do. Like I know I can do more than what I'm giving. Um, but I don't know. I've just been like out of touch with my creativity, and a lot's been going on. And I'm grateful that there's people who are helpful, and I'm grateful that there's people who are concerned and are even willing to like put in a good word or like a message of positivity. But I'm like, my whole thing is like, I don't know, maybe I'm being too lenient. Maybe I'm being too lenient, because that could be a thing too. But again, like I said, everything just feels like a two-step with the devil for me. And like, for the same things that y'all criticize and judge, I feel like some of y'all have to play that same game. Y'all just play it different. So for y'all, it's like, oh, but we're not doing this though. But it's like, but y'all still doing things that trigger my anxiety. So, I mean, it's just a matter of like who's safe and who's not. Like nobody feels safe to me. It's like getting you in the house, but we gotta blow up the car to get you in the house. Like, like, okay, crazy work, I mean, like strategic and like symbolic and funny on one side, but then at the same time, like I'm tough, but like y'all motherfuckers really be testing my nervous system like a lot, you know. But at the same time, again, grateful. Angie over here, huddled up, you know, and yeah, everybody's dance is just a little different, Some people's dancing while blowing up cars, you know, cars and rockets, I guess. Rockets and waterfalls. Ah, that's funny. That's not funny. That's not funny. But just all the things blowing up right now. Wild. We got bombs going off in different countries. We got rocket ships blowing up, cars steaming. I mean, it's a lot happening. And I just be here trying to exist. I don't be trying to relate to none of this shit. And I just feel like I'm caught in the middle. And it's like, what do you mean, Nerisse? Y'all know what I mean. I'm not gonna say it, but you know what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm getting at. I just be living my life and somehow, some way, getting caught up in the midst of people's strategies. You know. But again, like everybody, either you got a two-step or an eight count, or you know, six moves. I don't know. All of it looks crazy to me. It's just certain people's crazy is a little bit crazier than other people's crazies. But all of it is crazy to me. You know. Whatever, man. Anyway, I think I've said all the things I wanted to say. I'm hungry, so I'm gonna go eat. And yeah, it's been interesting to say the least. Um, I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to find my way. I'm trying to figure this whole thing out. And there is another topic I could get into. I said I was gonna write it out. I'm never mind. I'm just gonna write it out. I'm gonna write it out because I feel like that it's probably the more eloquent way I can express and break down what I'm feeling. I mentioned it in my last live stream that it has something to do with like decentering men versus like being a girl's girl. Um, that was like gonna pertain to one particular topic, but I feel like the series of events that's happened in my life can lend to that conversation as well. Um, yeah, I don't know. But my whole thing is like, as it well, specifically as it pertains to decentering men, I don't know. Maybe some men need to be a little bit more um clear and yeah, clarity. Clarity would be nice. Um, yeah. Like, are you two-stepping? Are you what? Yeah, let's get some clarity on that. Because I'm like, the girls are upset. The girls are upset and are screaming, "You're a pick Misha. You're being a pick me." I'm like, how to be a pick me if I'm already picked? But all right, sure. But at the same time, now I'm not talking about everybody, but there are some girls that be like, you being a pick Misha, you not being a girl's girl. But it be the same girls that be like that was trying to tear you down at one point and shade you at, and I'm talking about a handful of people, not just one, I'm talking about several. I'll be like, oh, but you gotta be considerate about this person. I'm like, that same person have shaded me. So what are we talking about? You know? And I'm not saying that these people don't have valid concerns, you know. A lot of the concerns are valid, but it's conflicting for me because like said concerns pertains to certain people that have been very helpful, more helpful than y'all that are complaining about, and so to me it's like, is it decentering or like is it like, I don't know. But again, it's like it's complicated because it's like the whole like everybody's playing both sides thing. So it's like I don't even know if I could trust y'all because y'all got to play both sides too. Like I said, everybody got to do a two step until I see people that's not dancing at all. And it's like, no, I'm not doing nothing with the devil. We just about to stand with you and call the shit out. Until I see that, I mean, y'all all do the same thing to me from my perspective. And, maybe there's more that goes on that I don't see and I don't have access to. So there's more nuance. But everybody got to speak in hieroglyphics. But to me, it looks like all the same hieroglyphics, you know? And maybe just like in different font. People's fonts are a little bit different. But I feel like, like, okay, if some people are playing here, people are playing here. If you're not playing here, you playing here. If you're not playing here, you play like so. But everybody's playing and pressing buttons. To me, at least that's what it feels like. Even if you like playing in a helpful way, to me it just feels like you playing in my face. Initially, that's what it looks like. That's what it feels like. All of it feels like you playing in my face, playing with my mind, playing in my face, and the same people that are like trying to like warn and bring precaution, like y'all playing too. So it's like, who do I trust? Because it's like I want to be grateful for the help that y'all giving, but it's like everything feels like an attack to me, even if it's not. And again, like my whole thing is like, like even in the midst of like playing both sides and doing your version of your dance, or your version of playing in my face and pressing buttons, like I just have to take it, which is fucked up. And it pisses me off. And that's why I go off and have my rants because I be tired of it. Even the people that maybe support me and maybe want to see me do well and maybe want to look out for me and protect me. But all of it feels like everybody's playing in my face. And for me, it's just like, it's just easy for me to like stand with the people who are the most helpful. And I'm trying to like compartmentalize, trying to be understanding to the things that I don't know, holding space for the people that are willing to make the sacrifice and support and show up for me and fight for me, to have safety, to be in spaces where I can to create scenarios that creates a reality that puts me in the mindset of a future where I can build something for myself. People looking out for me, people being willing to fight my battles, even if I'm not really crazy about how they going about it. But and people that are willing to blow the things up just out of like challenging the system. Like, it's conflicting as fuck for me. Like, I go back and forth between like, again, like I've talked about this a lot of times, just feeling like a lot of these situations is just like creating scenarios where I have to be complacent with Stockholm syndrome. And sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm trying to trust the process. I'm trying to read between the lines. Maybe there's something going on that I'm not understanding here. But then, oh no, actually, this person is being shady. No, this person is like being harmful intentionally. And they're trying to mask themselves as an ally. Like, I have to think about that too, but I also want to not be ungrateful for the people that are actually helping me. Like, it's a lot. This shit is a lot. It's a lot. And a lot of y'all don't know what it's like to be me, to have to deal with this and sit up here and try to like decipher it all. And I'm grateful to the people who really genuinely are concerned for my well-being and really are willing to take the risks to fight for that. Even if we hadn't spoken in years, even if we had been in bad terms for a period of time, but you've been willing to like band together to challenge the system and show up for me. Like, I'm not I'm not naive to that. I don't take that for granted. Please know that. Know that I don't take that for granted because that's probably required a lot that I don't know. And I'm trying my best to like understand it all. I'm trying to understand it all. But please know that I'm grateful. Please know that I'm grateful. And like, where some of you may not understand my decisions and like my feelings about certain situations, like, again, I've said like sometimes I could be loyal to a fault. And when I know that people have done a lot to help and risked a lot and lost a lot to help, like, I can't just like forget those things. And even if there are things that bother me that I'm not crazy about that, you know, I don't agree with. And maybe I agree with some of the grievances that y'all have. But I feel like it's hard for me to just throw people away when at a time where it felt like everybody threw me away and some people were there for me. Even some of the people that are showing up now, like, I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful. But like at the same time, this is still new. Because again, there was a period of time where even some of those folks threw me away. And I know I've said some hurtful things, you know, and I'm grateful that I'm guessing that maybe some folks were able to look past that and still show up for me and try to help out at a time where I genuinely felt like I had nobody and no one to go to and no one that I can call and like ask for help and were willing to like show up anyway. Like, y'all don't understand how much that means to me. And please know that like I don't take it for granted. I'm so grateful for y'all. And I don't know what y'all had to risk to do all that. But it like it means a lot to me that like some of the most important people in my life that like I've already like settled with the fact that like maybe I might not have like certain friendships with people ever again. And I made peace with that and I was okay with it. And even if like people hated me and I might like ruminate on some of the bad times and get triggered or whatever, like I always try to get to a point where I'm like, "You know what?" But I send them my blessings, and I wish them the best. And it bothers me that some of these people, like, had really important moments happen in their life, and I wasn't able to be there for that because of all of this bullshit. And I'm you know, I made peace with the fact that, like, there were some people that probably weren't gonna be, like I wasn't gonna be close to them like I once was, like, best friends, like, that I've grown up with, and, to see, like, certain people still, like, show up for me, it's a lot to me. Um, and again, just, like, try to understand that I don't understand what all is happening. All I know is, like, I just feel like the whole situation is toxic and everybody has to pick their poison. And, some people's poison might be overly sexual, and some people's poison might threaten my existence. Some people's poison might be, you know, I don't know, making a vehicle be out of commission to you know, create a better, safer situation. I don't know. But the main thing that I just try to resonate on is like just being grateful for the things that's worked out and grateful for the help and grateful for the risks that's been taken. And I know that there's some folks that might not like other people and might disagree and fight and all those things, but I just can't ignore the things that have helped pull me through really difficult times. When I was locked out of situations and ain't know what I was going to do, and or people that believe me, that believe finally believed me when I would say, like, share my story, and when I would challenge the things said about me, even though it was an uphill battle by myself. And I know that there's some people who believed those things, and I get it. I get it. Even though it was tough for me to go through in real time, I understand if you believed the story that was being told to y'all, I understand why certain people didn't want to be around me. And it hurt. But I'm grateful that people, I don't know what all has happened since then, but I'm assuming enough has happened where I know that some people that I was beefing with, even some folks, whether it be friends or family, that are willing to like take another chance on me. And I'm so grateful for that. I don't take it for granted. And I know it's a lot. Sorry if I'm like ruminating and saying the same thing, but I just really want y'all to know, like, I don't I don't know how to break this down in cold. I'm just saying it how it is because like I can't live in a delusion. Like so much of my life was already like a facade and illusion, and I just can't keep the illusion up. I know that that's how the way the world is working, but like on my platform, I like I was speaking like semi cold, but like I just have to say it how it is, and like we know what it is, and I'm grateful. I really am. And I just hope that y'all understand where I'm coming from and you understand like how things feel and look from my perspective as it pertains to just like my life, just certain people that in relationships and how I feel creatively and just how I'm trying to like navigate this whole thing of like, what am I supposed to do with my life? Who to trust? Who's guiding? Where are they guiding me to? Should I trust the guidance? Like, is this guidance in alignment with what I'm working towards? And sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. And it's challenging. And then at the same time, like who's the one making the decisions? Like, I don't know. It's a lot of things happening all at once. And I'm just trying to handle this and deal with this the best that I can. And I'm just grateful for the people who understand that. All right. I think I've said enough. I wasn't trying to get on here crying, but it's been an emotional few days for me. Um, yeah, it's been an emotional few days. And again, I'm just very grateful to everyone that's been like really helpful and people who believe me, people who are willing, who are open minded enough to like change their minds about me, people who are willing to give me another chance, willing to give me a first chance, willing to really just hear me, even if you don't agree with me, but just listen. I'm grateful for it all. And again, like most importantly, like I'm grateful for the people who are willing to like truly understand even when I'm not at my best, even when like I know like, I say hurtful things out of like frustration and pain and people who get it and they're like, "Yeah, what you're going through is fucked up. No, what you said wasn't the best. Maybe you probably shouldn't outburst like that, but I get why you're doing that. I get what's provoking you to say those things." Thank you to the people who understand it and people who challenge me to be better. And people who are like, okay, yeah, sure, yeah, you might be in the right and you might feel that way, but you shouldn't say that because even, yeah, although justified, the people that you're lashing out on are children of God and you need to be better. And thank you. Thank you for that. I'm so grateful. And, people who are willing to just help out in any way, you know, always have to tie it to gratitude. Cause that's my thing. Gratitude, an attitude of gratitude. And I know my hair looks crazy. That's because, I'm trying to like get it, I'm trying to style it up a little bit. My hair is cooking, hopefully. But yeah, okay. And for the things that I don't understand, maybe some clarity. I don't know. Maybe, maybe, maybe some clarity. I don't know. Um, yeah, but okay, anyway, I'm done. We gonna end it with a prayer. Psalm 23, as we're on an hour and 23 minutes, longer than I wanted to be on here. Anyway. The Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures and leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me on the path of righteousness for his name's sake. And although I walk through the valley in the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff comfort me. God prepares a table for me in the presence of my enemies and anoints my head with oil. My cup runneth over, and surely goodness and mercy follow me all the days of my life, and I dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So it is, so it will be. Gratitude for all the blessings and all the challenges and all the lessons that's already been. Amen. I mean, Ashe. All right, y'all. Have a good night.